Welcome back. Today we're going to update you on how our garden's doing. We're finally starting to see some growth in the garden, which is very exciting. So stick around and see how everything's coming. So the basil definitely took the transplant hard. You can see a lot of the leaves are sagging. These are finally starting to sprout back. Looks like we got a little bit here. But the transplant was definitely rough for these, so we're just gonna take the best care of them we can and hope they bounce back. Our seedlings are starting to sprout well. What, bud?
A purple.
That's red.
Daddy.
We got a small spinach sprout.
Daddy.
What, bud?
Purple.
Yeah?
Purple.
Onion sprouting.
Daddy.
What, bud?
A purple.
Yeah, good boy.
A purple.
Good boy.
Purple.
See little tiny.
Daddy.
What?
A purple.
Yeah, good boy.
A purple red.
Purple and red, good boy.
It's red.
We got a little tiny red beet sprout right there. Some lettuce coming up. Some cabbage. And then our kale is doing really well. And very exciting for today, our potatoes are sprouting. There's our first sprout. You can see over here, we just got something down in that crack. Coming up, we have these two sprouts here. Here's our watermelon and our corn. It's dealt with a couple days of shock as well, but they're starting to really come back. So we're approaching about 2 months with this greenhouse. And I just wanted to give a review of some things, how it's done well and how we've had some issues with it. Wind has definitely been a factor here. As you can see, we have ropes tied to our retaining wall. They go over and tie to the wall on the other side, just to prevent any lift. These little tiny ropes that came with it, they're not really gonna do a whole heck of a lot. You can see here, these little spikes that they provide to go into the ground, they'll pull right out, so we just have this log sitting on top of everything just to add a little bit of tension. And the other side's just tied down to the wall. We've thrown some 4x4s, some bricks, everything along the plastic along the bottom to keep it down. There's no kind of way to really attach it. I think another good idea would have been to actually maybe dig a small little ditch around the greenhouse and bury the plastic inside there. Another huge benefit would have been if there was some kind of spikes or something to hammer into the ground to hold the actual frame down, because the frame has nothing to attach it to the ground, and it's just loosely tied with some cheap little ties that are part of this. The frame has stayed relatively intact. You can see it's fairly straight. There's a little bow on this side. This corner over here actually bent out. I don't know if you guys can see that down in there, probably not, but the lower pole actually bent out. And about 2 days ago, with a high wind, this whole thing lifted about 2 feet and just completely moved. the whole greenhouse. We are seeing there's ties down in here somewhere that have ripped off that tied this to this pole. Those came off in the wind. You see this corner tie has come off. But overall, for a greenhouse that only cost $200 off of Amazon, it's done fairly well. So if this is going to be your first greenhouse, you're starting your first garden in late winter, early spring, this is definitely a good option. It was $189 off of Amazon. It's 10 by 20. It has handled the wind substantially better than I expected it to, especially being that we are sitting up on a hillside fresh off the lake. So it does get a lot of wind hitting the side of this. Without these two additional tie downs here, I don't think it would have survived. It would have definitely blown away or bent all up. But for the price, I would say for a beginner gardener, this is definitely a great way to go. You see a lot of greenhouses out there in the $600,000-$700,000 to $2,000 range for this size. So to start off at $200, you really can't beat it. If it lasts this season and we don't get a second season out of it, that'll be okay. This is just our first greenhouse and our first garden, so it doesn't have to be perfect.